If you look at a person's daily habits, you can usually tell a lot about their overall success in life. In this episode, we'll look at 4 simple ways to re-energize through small habits you can do no matter what's going on in the world around you. Hi, I'm Carly Rieger, and this is the Golden Age Timeline podcast. Now, the good news is that by examining existing habits that might be draining you and shifting them, you can profoundly improve your life. The key to creating lasting change is repetition. It can't be a one-off action that you do or even just do occasionally. Transformation is created when you are re-inspiring yourself with the end goal coupled with the power of repetition. Because what you do sometimes won't create the lasting change, the drop in the bucket to create the fullness. What you do most of the time will. Simply put, our habits become our life success or not. According to a variety of neuroscience studies, it can take 21 to 66 days of consistent focus to form a new habit, meaning it goes on autopilot, so you don't need to will yourself to do it anymore. It just happens. For example, I listen to a Neuro-blueprint every morning to get my mind focused in the right direction. More about Neuro-blueprint audios in the show notes if you don't know what I'm referring to, and I'll talk a bit more about them at the end. Now, at first, I did listen to the audios maybe a couple of times a week, and then did weeks without it and noticed the mental weeds growing back. So it was stop and start until I committed to, and I tracked it in the calendar, 48 days. And after that, I just automatically do it about 6 mornings a week. So what are the 4 habits many people do that are actually draining their energy? Well, the first one is not living in the present moment. Now, the human brain does tend to loop in the past and in the future. For example, negative past experiences. Part of the reason we stay stuck in the past is because I think we haven't fully learned from those past negative experiences. We haven't moved the experience from the trauma center of the brain into the neocortex because we haven't moved the experience from the trauma center of the brain, which I've talked about in other episodes, into the neocortex because we haven't examined the experience from the perspective of what we were meant to learn, how we were meant to grow. As soon as you do that, often you change your interpretation of that event from regret to gratitude. You're glad you had that accident, went through that hard relationship, got fired, or whatever, because it made you who you are today. It gave you the strength and resilience and compassion and understanding and strength that you now use to be successful today. I have several podcasts on regret. So just use that as a search term, regret, at mindstoryacademy.com/podcast, and you'll see many useful tools for how to release regret. The human brain also tends to loop on future possibilities, either worrying that something bad will happen or indulging in a fantasy of a different life where you don't have to go through the challenges you're now facing. Or, of course, like that old Carly Simon song, anticipation about something in the future that's better than what's going on now. Of course, as I've talked about on other episodes, worrying about the future is like using your creative imagination, one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal to create what you don't want. The good news is you just need to retrain your brain. Most people wake up in the morning and immediately the worry brain starts going, scanning the horizon for what you should be worrying about. So you can gently and compassionately say to yourself, "Thank you for sharing." Then think about something you do want versus what you don't want. If you're worried about not having enough money, imagine life, what it would be like having enough money. That way, you're using your imagination in a positive versus negative way, and what you focus on tends to grow. It changes the way your brain problem solves and will more likely lead you to creating more income. People think that worry is necessary because it makes them take care of issues so they don't end up being foolish and impractical, but it's actually more practical to imagine having what you want because of the reticular activation system that makes you start to see how to create that. You can also focus on what you're grateful for in that moment, like your nice warm bed, or something you're looking forward to that day, or something you appreciated about yesterday. These are all building new neural pathways, new muscles in the brain. It's kind of like training a puppy. You just need to gently and compassionately keep redirecting your mind to focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. And that's why we make the MindStory Neuro-blueprints for people. They are a form of mental rehearsal, like going to the gym with your brain and training your brain in good habits of mind. All of them help you take back control of how your mind operates, because most of us weren't taught how to do that. And a lot of them train you to be in the present moment much more often. So if you think about any time in your life where you were really happy, or things you do that generally make you feel happy, it's usually something that helps you be in the present moment. For example, going on a lovely walk in nature, being out on a sailboat, playing with your dog, being engrossed in a story, meditating, any kind of artistry like painting or writing or doing a craft or cooking, anything you find enjoyable and creative. Also doing an outdoor activity or sport that requires you to stay very focused in the moment to do it well. I remember trying a comedy improv class. That's like theater acting with no script. And loving it mainly because in order to improvise, to be entirely spontaneous with the other performers, meant having to be very much in the present moment. They would say something and I would have to respond to it. There was no script to rely on. And also, because we were focused on comedy, we were laughing most of the time, and laughing brings the entire energy in your brain into the present moment. So I love doing it just because it brought me into the present moment in so many ways. So any habit you have that makes you happy, probably it's doing so because it helps your brain be in the present moment. So tip number 1 to be more present is to release regrets by learning from the past experiences you loop about in your mind. Tip number 2 is to train your brain to focus on what you want in the moment instead of what you don't want in the future. Tip number 3 is to include activities that make you happy in your life, because very likely they help focus your mind in the present moment. All of those will energize you instead of drain you. So the second habit that tends to drain a lot of people is complaining. Did you know that the average person complains anywhere from 15 to 30 times in a single day? Now, that might be complaining about a person to someone else, complaining to a person about themselves, a circumstance that's annoying you, but most often people are complaining about themselves. Muttering under their breath, "Oh, you're such an idiot. I can't believe I haven't been to the gym in 4 weeks. Oh, I can't believe I ate so much." Again, these are just bad habits of mind you can retrain, because what you focus on grows. If you call yourself an idiot, you're going to act more like an idiot. If you complain about how little you exercise and how much you eat, it's just going to get you more out of shape. Because these thoughts create train tracks in your mind of patterns of thinking that just go on autopilot. And you can close down the train tracks that you don't want to be on anymore and write new train tracks of default thought patterns where you think about what you appreciate in yourself, in other people, or in circumstances. And just so you know, people who complain the most outwardly to others usually complain 10 times more inside their own head about themselves. They're lost in self-judgment, and so it sometimes spews out onto others. So whenever anybody complains, it can be useful to see if there's anything constructive in the comment, but also feel compassion for the person. If they tend to complain a lot, they tend to have a lot of self-judgment. So just feeling some compassion towards a person like that instead of complaining about them being a complainer can help shift the entire relationship. For example, if it's a family member, a friend, a customer, a coworker who complains a lot, if you find yourself complaining about people who complain, chances are you're one of them. You have a habit of complaining as well. I mean, most of us do, so don't beat yourself up about it. Especially these days with the whole COVID situation, it's like a free ticket to the land of complaint. You have such great justification. The downside is you tend to create more of what you don't want. So here's a tip for turning it around. Focus your intention and energy on problem solving rather than problem creating. For example, instead of complaining to yourself and others about how overweight you feel, use that same life force energy, this creative imagination, in a constructive way, like brainstorm on how to change your eating habits. Ask people what they know works to help lose weight, or how could you move more? How could you get the accountability you need to stick to good life habits around self-care? And instead of complaining about a complainer in your life, how can you help them see what they want instead of what they don't want? I had a family member who seemed to enjoy complaining about how people kept dripping water around the edge of the kitchen sink, which is generally hard to avoid when you're working at a sink. It was seeping into the cupboards below, which could cause long-term problems with the wood. So instead of reacting to the complaints, I brainstormed with the person about how to solve it. And we got a plastic covering the next day so that the drips wouldn't fall into the cabinets. Problem solved. See, sometimes people just get stuck in a loop. And if you're a coach, you know that people often come to you to get a breakthrough from the loop of whatever they don't want by helping them redirect that creative life force energy to what they do want. Because behind every complaint is a solution the person wants. And that includes every complaint you have about yourself is a solution you want for yourself. So you can make a list of things about yourself, about others, about life that you're complaining about on the left-hand side of a piece of paper. Then on the right-hand side of the page, make a list of what you want instead. Now, can you always get what you want? Maybe not, but more often than not, it will redirect your mind into a problem-solving mode, which will energize you instead of drain you. In fact, every time you're about to speak to others and it has that negative complain kind of focus going on, just stop and think about, okay, what do I want instead? And say it like that. For example, in one room in our house, there is very poor internet reception, and I wanted to complain about it to our service provider, but I just changed my wording before I got on the phone, and instead I said, is there a way to boost the internet in this back room of our house? As a matter of fact, there was. Problem solved. So instead of creating a bad relationship between me and my service provider by me coming at him with a complaint, we got to a solution really quickly and maintained a good relationship. Now, sometimes your complaint is about something that can't change, or it's something you have no control over, like the weather or bad traffic. In those cases, I think it's best to focus on what you do appreciate in that moment, what is going well, because otherwise you drain your energy wishing present situations were different. For example, I was stuck in slow traffic in a rainstorm, late for an appointment. So I started complaining about it, but I realized that was going to drain me. So I just turned on one of my favorite songs to shift my mindset. It was an important appointment with a potential client, and I wanted to be in a good state of mind and not in an aggravated one, because it does show. People pick up on that. So the third one is not taking care of your physical body. Now, most of us have habits that make it hard for the physical body to stay energized. Staying up too late, eating too much sugar, too much caffeine, not exercising enough, not getting out into nature, not getting fresh air. So where's an area of your life that you could better support your physical health? So let's focus on one, just for the sake of this activity. Most people I know don't sleep enough. Sleeping deeply can be your number one energy booster. Often people don't realize that. They try to compensate by drinking more coffee, when just getting enough of the right kind of sleep can make all the difference in the world. Because during sleep, your brain repairs and your body repairs itself, and you sort through mental, emotional, even spiritual issues, and all of that just boosts your energy and your immune system. There are many studies on how lack of sleep increases nervous system imbalances, causes higher blood pressure, lowers mood, exacerbates diabetes, increases your weight, can lead to depression, all kinds of things. So what's the optimal amount of sleep? Well, in a sleep study done by the American Cancer Society, the findings were that those who lived the longest slept 7 to 8 hours per night. In fact, they said if you want to shorten your life, just sleep less than that on a regular basis. And I find that a lot of my clients are only sleeping 4 to 6 hours per night, especially the ones that have lots of obligations. But I also notice because of the lack of sleep, they seem to have a lot more issues. Now, I've seen it happen on many occasions where I challenge people to sleep more. For example, use the Neuro-blueprints at night to help them sleep more deeply, and just commit to going to bed earlier and not working on the computer late at night and all those things. And a lot of these issues go away. Their mood improves, anxiety lowers, they have way more energy, and therefore their relationships improve, their focus and productivity improves, which tends to improve their finances, and it just becomes a big domino effect in the right direction. So here are 4 quick tips for improving your sleep routine. Have an evening ritual or routine. So some people do a nighttime bath, some people have a lavender tea, some people write in a gratitude journal, some people do some gentle yoga inversion postures where your head is below your heart, which brings blood into the brain and just kind of clears out that mental chatter. Of course, these neuro-blueprints, we have many of them that are just for going to sleep at night with several kind of binaural beats and rhythms that help calm the brain waves. Or you can listen to an inspiring podcast like this one. Of course, number 2 is get off devices at least 2 hours before bed. I know this is a hard one for a lot of people, but people who stay up doing email, texting, scrolling into the wee hours tend to get a worse night's sleep. I turn it off at 8 p.m. latest, and I'm asleep by 10:30 p.m. But you have to figure out what would work best for you. Number 3 is charging phones and devices outside of the bedroom. Now, I know I'm going to sound like a radical on this one, but never sleep with a smartphone that's charging on your bedside. Electromagnetic frequencies will harm your sleep pattern. And if you get notifications or messages, they wake you up. In fact, don't have any kind of device or computer open and on in your bedroom. And the 4th one is what I call your what if list. And this is to place a pad and pen on your nightstand, or I'll tell you how to get the what if checklist. Get a printout and put it on your nightstand. And this is if you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is racing with worries, get it out of your head and onto paper to deal with tomorrow. And that gets you out of the survival brain and into the whole brain thinking. So I often suggest people use the what if checklist, and you can see how to get a free download of that in the show notes. You write all your worries down as a question, starting with the words, what if, then your worry. For example, what if I can't get all my work done on time tomorrow? Then write down a positive version. What if I can get all my work done on time tomorrow? Because then your survival brain will calm down and you can sleep, and you'll be more productive and more able to problem solve about how to get all your work done on time. You can also do what's called a negative okay version, which is, what if I can't get all my work done on time tomorrow? And it's okay. I find a solution and make it work anyways. Again, that will help your survival brain calm down so you can sleep. Often we catastrophize that really bad things will happen if something doesn't work out, and often it's not actually that big a deal. So the fourth one is constantly pleasing others and ignoring your own needs. Living your life according to other people's needs and beliefs and what often you just think they need and want, it might not even be true for them, is a sure recipe for feeling drained. Good self-esteem makes it possible for you to impose clear boundaries. It lets you say no when you want to say no, and it cures the disease to please others. Now, by self-esteem, I mean getting to know and care about the true self. And by the true self, I mean the self you are underneath all the societal programming, the neuroses, the expectations, and obligations. So I don't mean a wild, uncultured, undisciplined self, but it's usually a self that comes out when you're connected to your heart, when you're happy, in a good mood, feeling grateful, laughing, having fun, feeling joyful. That's the true self. That's how you're meant to be. It's the part that's built up wisdom, that operates from whole brain thinking, that's got that heart, body, mind connection. We all have it. It just often fades into the background when lots of external circumstances or built up subconscious programs overlay it all. And all those take your attention and seem more important to listening to than caring about the true self. So having good self-esteem means spending time with that part of yourself, doing things you love, all the things we talked about, getting a good night's sleep, taking care of your body, thinking about what you love, who you love, and finding what you love about yourself. Because we all have things within ourselves that are lovable. Being kind to yourself, forgiving yourself, often helps you learn from past mistakes. If you never forgive yourself, you never really learn, and then life just tends to keep giving you the same issues until you learn. So forgiveness, instead of letting yourself off the hook, oh, I don't have to take responsibility for that mistake I made, actually is a doorway into learning and growing and being a wiser, more mature person. And when you have good self-esteem, you're usually good at preserving your boundaries. Example, you don't answer your boss's call at 9:30 at night because you know you need to rest. It doesn't mean doing all the cleaning because others in the family just don't feel like it. Unless, of course, you enjoy doing all the cleaning and it's coming from a place of feeling happy to do it and not from a place of just needing to control your environment and haven't done the right way. You know you are there when you can come from a calm, centered place and say what you need, or say no to something in that kind of calm, centered, polite, diplomatic kind of way without sounding reactive. If you have low self-esteem, you're usually not so good at creating and setting boundaries. You'll know this is true if you regularly feel invaded at work or home or in your personal life with friends. It's where at some level meeting their demands makes you feel drained, but also makes you feel like you have to do it. The answer? Building your self-esteem muscle every day. When you feel good about yourself, you will start putting your own mask on first, taking care of yourself. So you will need to reframe saying no as caring about yourself instead of being selfish, because there are some bad programs out there that especially women pick up, that if you're not constantly taking care of everyone else's needs, you are being selfish. Now, there is selfishness, so I'm not saying it's always, look after yourself and not anyone else, but there's a balance, right? And each situation is different. Sometimes you do need to put your needs aside to help another, especially if it's a child or an elderly person or a vulnerable person that really does need your help. But some people get addicted to being a martyr, to always being needed by others. Somehow there's a sense of security wrapped up in that. And if nobody needed you, you'd sort of feel at your wit's end. I've seen people do this, go out and find somebody to take care of that needs them. If you suspect that's you, I would reframe boundary setting as a positive way, again, to put your own mask on first. You know how they say on the airplanes, get your own oxygen going, so then you have the energy and wherewithal to help those who actually really do need your help. I've seen it all too often with clients who are overgivers. They burn out, and then all those people who relied on them suddenly don't have them to rely on anymore. So, in the big picture, you are helping them by helping yourself first. So the top tip for creating boundaries with others is to, I find, get your journal out, get a piece of paper out, a Word doc, and list on the left-hand side of the page situations where you feel drained when dealing with others. Then on the other side of the page, brainstorm on another way of responding to each of those situations so that you feel like you're taking care of yourself at the same time. So just allow yourself to think of some new possibilities, and the trick, of course, is to take action on at least one of them. For example, I was looking after my elderly father more and more as he got older, and I started to feel drained by it because I had my own family and a business that kept me on the road a lot. I felt stuck because he wouldn't let anyone else help him. At one point, I did this exercise and brainstormed the idea of having an in-home caregiver to help out. Now, I had suggested that before and he refused, but I opened my mind to somehow that working. A few days later, synchronistically, I met a woman at an event who was lovely, and she was an in-home caregiver. Her rates were very reasonable, so I convinced my father to at least have a brief meeting with her before nixing the idea completely. They met and hit it off right away. She took on the job and they became best of friends. He was so grateful for her and for me for suggesting it. It took the pressure off me, and it ended up being a win-win for all concerned. So see what comes up for you and take one small action just to get the ball rolling. So that's it for today. If you want more tools like this, do get our book, MindStory Inner Coach, because you get 2 free sample Neuro-blueprints. So you just go to MindStoryAcademy.com and you'll see it there on the home page. You'll also see how to buy it as a Kindle or as a hard copy on Amazon. But even if you get it on Amazon, you can still get the 2 free Neuro-blueprints by emailing us your receipt. Now, along with the book, these 2 free guided audios are examples of what we do at MindStory Coaching Academy called Neuro-blueprints. They're a form of mental rehearsal that helps you access your inner wisdom, helps you sleep at night, helps you stay present, all the things we talked about today. And one is called How to End Self-Sabotage, and the sample of this one is the one that you would use at night. And the other is called Your Hero's Journey, which is about reframing the challenges of your life. So helping you let go of regret, basically, how your challenges helped forge you in the fire of wisdom to now help others. Because sometimes it's hard to see what that is unless you do a process like this. You can also get a free copy of the What Ifs checklist I talked about in the show notes. Just look for that link. And hit subscribe if you want to hear about other episodes coming up. So until next time, I'm Carly Rieger. Thank you for listening.